All right, back again with Todd DeSorbo. How you doing, mate?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for doing this. I appreciate it.
Of course.
Listen, we caught up a couple of years ago, and you were kind of on an uphill trajectory. You were at the start of this run. I think you just won your first national title, maybe somewhere around that, and we're kind of creeping. And now, mate, it's been three in a row. You look. I mean, your women's team just looks unbeatable. It's just incredible the team you've put together over the last 3 or 4 years, mate. So congratulations on that.
Thanks, man. Has it been that long? Has it been
I
that
think it
long
was
since we
I think it was
talked?
2021. Well, our full podcast. I mean, we've caught up obviously
Yeah.
on the pool deck. I've come to watch you guys perform, and we caught up then. But in terms of like a full podcast, it's been a while that you and I have sat down and kind of analyzed some stuff.
Yeah. Huh. Well, time flies, man.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it does, and mate, you don't sit around wait for much. You're on the go all the time, mate.
That's true. I think you have to
Yeah,
be.
yeah.
Well, I don't know if you have to be, but I enjoy that. I'd rather be on the go than sitting around doing nothing and being bored. That's for sure.
And I've said this many times. I think to publicly, anytime I'm with you, is like you have this energy, like that. Your mood doesn't change. You seem to be up all the time, and not up in a way that is off-putting. It's just like you've got an incredible energy about it. I don't know how you keep it up, man. Seriously.
Uh, it's interesting because I don't know either, really, but I guess it's just kind of my personality. But I think about like Eddie Reese and how long he's been doing this, and I'm
Mm,
like, there's no way. I am exhausted at the end of every day, and not because I'm trying to put more into every day or
mm.
anything, but I just enjoy it so much that I put a lot into it, and our whole staff does. And so by the end of the day, I'm like ready to I'm exhausted and pass out. Every day I'm like, I don't know how Eddie did this and is continuing to do this, at that level. So
Yeah.
I don't think I will be on the deck as long as Eddie Reese has been on the deck.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, in fairness to you, I mean, you're running two teams right now, man. You got a full men's team, a full women's team. It's no joke. Look, I've again said this publicly. I don't know how it's possible to do that fully effectively, and I think you're probably one of the very few that is managing it correctly and doing it well. But again, it's there's a cost, right? Like at the end of the day, you're completely exhausted, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But mate, well, listen, congratulations on the appointment of US head coach for the women's team next year in Paris. I mean, that's a massive appointment. Again, you've just added something else to your plate, which again, I don't know how you're doing that, but how are you going to balance between college and your the national stuff that you've got to do for next year in the lead up to Paris?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know really. I'm kind of waiting. The At least as of now, the responsibilities from the Olympic perspective haven't been too much. I mean, we've been to Colorado Springs a couple times, and we've had a handful of meetings, so it hasn't piled on that much to my plate. But I think that as we get closer to the spring and certainly Olympic trials, it'll be significantly more. So, when Anthony and I were head coaches at Worlds in 22, we got a little trial run through it, I guess. Obviously, the Olympics is a little bit more important and more intense, and more work goes into it. But USA Swimming certainly does a really good job of leading us and planning everything out logistically. And they run things by us and they get our input. But they're doing most of the legwork, which is really good. So, I don't know how much of a balancing act it's going to end up being, but certainly Anthony and I will put a ton, as much as we need to into it, and if not more, because we want the U.S. to be successful, and whatever role we can play to help the entire team be as successful as possible, we'll certainly do.
Yeah. So much to unpack here, man. It's cool that I get to sit with you for a second and talk about some of this stuff. But just in terms of that, before we jump onto other things, if we're on this subject now, I mean, you guys are in for a battle. There's no doubt about it. You know this. The Australian women had an incredible meet at Worlds. You got Doha coming up, which is kind of a pit stop, but not many American female swimmers going to that one. But in terms of Paris, a little bit of a head-to-head battle with Australia right now, hey?
Yeah, absolutely. And I gotta tip my hat to them, because this past summer was amazing for the Australians, and certainly has raise the game a little bit. And I think that's great. I think it's great for the sport. I look at it the same way as I do the college season, right? If our college team can continue to get better, we're elevating everybody. A rising tide, what's that quote? A rising tide raises all boats.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that, any country, whether it's the Australians or anybody else for that matter, is taking the game up a level, then I think everybody else will rise to that occasion as well. And, I look at the 4x100 free relay. That's kind of a relay that I've been pretty passionate about for a long time. All the way back to when Ryan Held made the Olympics in 2016 and had the opportunity to be on the gold medal relay in Rio. And now it's transitioned a little bit more to the women's side. But, in Tokyo, in 21, I was assigned as assistant coach. I was assigned, all the assistant coaches were assigned to kind of lead particular relays. And I was assigned the women's 4x100 free relay. And I have a little bit of a chip on my shoulder to help the U.S. women, get back to the level they've been at. But it's been a long time. It's been a long time since our women in the U.S. have challenged the Australians. And so, I'm hopeful that we can push, towards narrowing that gap a little bit and challenging them a little bit more. And, I think certainly they're going to keep doing what they're going to do, and we'll come chasing. And I think it'll just make for an exciting Olympics and a lot more fun. And there's obviously a lot more on the line on the Olympics than there is at a World Championship. So, I think everybody around the world is working, smarter and harder this year than any year. So it'll be exciting for sure. And again, I think that what the Australians are doing is fantastic. And, I think it'll help the Americans and everybody else around the world to be better. I would imagine that the Olympics is going to be pretty special. I have no idea what's going to happen, but I feel like it's going to be pretty fast, and faster than probably than it's been in a long time. So it'll be exciting.
Yeah, it is, man. And you're capable. You've got the horses, you've got the knowledge, you've got the willingness, and you've also got the competitiveness. I know you, and you're not going to sit around and lie around and wait for somebody just to keep beating you up. You guys are going to compete. One thing I will say, I just spent 3 weeks in Australia, and I got to spend some time at some of these programs. And whether we think of this as an advantage or a disadvantage, I don't know. But when I'm looking at your plate, you've got these two college teams that you're looking after. And then on top of that, now you're the head coach of the U.S. Olympic women's team for next year. So there's a massive amount on your plate. When I look at a guy like Michael Bowl, let's say, and I spent a couple of days with him, he's focused on getting Emma McKeon to swim as fast as possible. And that's his primary role. Like, he's got 12 athletes, let's say, and they're all preparing for Paris. And he's got one main role. I look at you, and you've got to coach 70 athletes, and you've got to take on this. So it's like, to me, it seems like it's an unfair advantage to the Australians right now, where they're looking at high performance and putting a spotlight on it and saying, we just want this group to swim as fast as possible. And Todd, over here, we want you to do all these things. I mean, it just seems like it's unfair in balance right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely different. I'm not sure if I would call it unfair or, I think that's seems to me to be pretty standard across the world outside of the U.S. The European countries, Australia, the Asian countries, I think they're all,
right.
Their high level athletes are in a national training center, or they're in little pockets where it's just a handful of people and one or two coaches focus on a couple of athletes. Obviously, the U.S. is very different with the college system, and even pro groups spread out all over the place. So, I mean, it's different. It's very different. I don't know that it's an advantage or disadvantage one way or the other. I think I think there's pros and cons to both, right? Like, we've got, I don't even have a pro group, right? I kind of coin our college team, like our college team is our pro group. But, they're surrounded by 60 athletes and training together every day. Certainly, we're focused on developing all of our athletes, and in particular, those who have Olympic potential. But, I think that being surrounded by that many athletes day to day only helps them, motivates them, gets them excited, helps them to push a little bit harder for, what, at least in our college system, is, goals on the NCAA level. that helps them kind of, take catapult towards Olympic, success after the NCAA season. So, but certainly the cons are I have to focus on 65 athletes rather than just 3 athletes.
Right.
So it's definitely different. There's pros and cons, but, I don't think that's different, right? Like I think the Australians and everybody else around the world for that matter have been always doing that. And the US has always been doing this. And, both countries amongst others have been successful in their own right over, traditionally and historically. So it's just the nature of the beast, and we do the best with what we've got.
Yeah, it's a good answer, man. I appreciate that. There's definitely some talk in Australia that, you swim 51 in the 100 freestyle, you may miss an individual spot on the Olympic team. So there's definitely depth. And it seems like there's a gap to the US. It doesn't seem like we have that much depth over here, where they just seem stacked with depth. So how do you make up that ground in the next 10 months?
Yeah, it's wild, right? You would think, as big as the US is, we would have equally as much depth. I think that obviously it's an individual by individual basis. Like we've got to get better. If we're going to challenge them, we just have to get better. We've got to get better individually right now and over the next however many months we have to the Olympics. And then we've got to perform better on that relay in that moment, right? If you want to break an American record or a world record or challenge for a gold medal, you've got to have that, beast mentality on a relay, which, interestingly enough, a lot of our kids do, in the NCAA level. They swim relay splits that are out of their minds relative to their individual races. So we've got to have that mentality. So I think that, again, I think being an Olympic year, here in the US, everybody's, a little bit more focused, a little bit more disciplined. I do think that to make our Olympic team in the 100 free and to make our relay in 100 free is going to be probably significantly faster than it's been in a long time. I mean, I don't think it's ever taken under 54 to make our team. At least in the last 3 to 4 years since I've been involved in Tokyo. I can't even remember at this point, but if it's been under 54 to make our top 6 slots, it's been like 53.9.
Yeah.
I know Kate Douglas made it in 22 and she went 53.9. I think she was 5th, and made the relay. Last year, I can't remember, but it might've been 53 high again just to make the relay. I don't think it's going to be 53 high, this year. I think it's going to be, if you just look at US Open, and granted, Siobhan was there and she won, but there were, 4 or 5 US women under 54 and Kate Douglas didn't even swim it. So, I think that to make our relay, it will be significantly faster than it's ever been. And I think if the depth is better, then the top end is going to be better because, if you want the 2 individual slots, you're going to have to probably be better than you've been before. So hopefully we've got more than just 2 women under 53 at trials. And if we have 4 under 53 and a couple of them are 52.5 or better, then you're getting into that, right? We may not have anybody go 51 on a flat start. But I certainly think we're capable. We have the talent, that's for sure. I think we're capable of having a handful of 51 relay splits. So, just got to put it together and get focused and, get there. And I think we can, but again, we got to do it all at once, all at the same time.
Yeah. Mate, another compliment here, but one of the things that I think that makes you great and has allowed you to be super successful over the past few years is not the fact that you can get people to swim fast. I think most coaches around the world can get somebody to swim fast. What you're doing well and what's separating you is you're getting a group of people to swim fast and somehow work together. Now, I've had a sprint group in the past that's had some success, but I knew that the biggest challenge was not what you saw on the outside. The biggest challenge was what was going on the inside, and you've got personalities that you have to deal with, right? So like I've been on your pool deck and I've seen some of the talent you got walking around, and everyone would think, oh wow, he's so lucky. But the management of the talent that you have and the way that you do it, I think separates you. So am I right in that? It's kind of that balancing act between trying to get everybody to hit at the right time together, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I agree. I think getting somebody to swim fast is the easy part. Just managing, the needs of everybody, because
Right.
the needs of everybody are very different, right? Like the training needs are very different. Like Claire Curzan, Kay Douglas, Gretchen Walsh, Alex Walsh, Maxine Parker, all their training needs are different. They need to train differently. But they're also, personalities are very different. Emotionally, they're very different. So, and that's just 5 people I've named, right? We have 65. So I think managing, different personalities, different emotions, day to day that's the challenge. But I love that. Like, I love challenges. When COVID hit in 20, we got back to training in the fall of 2020. It was like, all right, well, it is what it is. The whole country's dealing with it. The whole world's dealing with it. Let's see if we can, it's just a new challenge, a different challenge. Let's see if we can attack and be more successful in this challenge than other people are. So, managing our athletes and their personalities and their emotions, both men and women, it's just a challenge. And fortunately, I also have a very good staff and a big staff to help with that, because I'm not necessarily coaching everybody every day, but that is the biggest challenge. And that is what is, when you're at the end of the day, when you get home, you're emotionally drained, because like, I can stand, like, being on the deck, that's physical, right? I can take 20,000 steps a day and be totally fine. It's, it's the energy you're putting into every individual. It's the energy you're putting into their emotions. Whether it's a great day or a bad day, it's, you're putting a lot into them just to make sure that everybody's in a good place when they leave at the end of the day, which is certainly a challenge. And we're successful some days and other days we're not, but hopefully your successful days outnumber your not so successful days.
Yeah. Let's tell me about a couple of your studs that I'm really interested in, and I know a lot of people are, and I think really hold the key to USA's success next year as well in Paris, I think. So the first one is just Kate Douglas. Tell me about her. I mean, to on the outside looking in, she's phenomenal, right? Like, she's just so aquatic in the water, and she can do everything. But I don't know much about her. So tell us about Kate Douglas.
Kate, I don't know how to explain Kate. She's hard to explain. She's a complex human being. Kate, she's just the type of person that, like, if she wants to do something, I've said this before, but if she wants to do something, she's going to do it. And she's going to do it at a very, very high level. And if she's enjoying it, it's going to be at an even higher level. If she doesn't want to do something, she's not doing it. And there's no, like, just doing it and being okay at it, right? It was like the 200 IM for a couple of years. Like, she didn't want to do it, so she just didn't do it. And had she tried it, it wouldn't have been good. And so she's just like, I'm just not going to do it. Whereas when she does want to do it, it's amazing. So, but that's her. Her life is that way. When she was a first or second year, she was majoring in one particular subject and didn't like it, and didn't do so hot in one class. Was like, what, I'm done with this. I'm going to go do statistics. And then enjoyed it and liked it, and said I'm going to do it, and did it really well. And now she's in grad school for it. So it's not just swimming. It's like, that's just her personality, and that's just the way she approaches life. She's insanely tough on herself. She expects to be world-class every single practice, every single day. And if she's not, she beats herself up, which is, that's the perfectionist. And I imagine most high-level elite athletes are that way, regardless of the sport. So, she wants to be the best. And, I think she's the type of athlete that, long-term, I know there was this random funny stuff going around about her retiring after Paris. Right. I don't necessarily think that's going to happen, but I do think she's the type of person that if she's not going to be on the top, she won't keep going. Right. Like, she's not going to just keep going to get seconds and thirds.
Yeah. Well, and I don't think any of us see that either, in terms of the fact that she's just going to rack up seconds and thirds. She looks like a winner. Like, every time she gets in the pool, she looks like a winner. But
she finds a way, right? It's uncanny.
Right. Oh, she's gifted, but she's tough, like you said. So in terms of the 100 freestyle, maybe a lot of the US hopes hang on her and a couple of other people, but certainly if she makes her mind up to swim that 100 free, the US is in a good spot, because now you've got a competitive animal who wants to win. But like you said, if she doesn't want to do it, then she's not doing it. So why didn't she swim at US Open, like the 100 free?
I think she just kind of got through the second day. We talked about it after finals, and I think she just wanted to have a little bit more of a fresh 200 breaststroke because she very rarely gets a fresh 200 breaststroke because the 100 free has always been in front of it, right? At Worlds this summer and at trials. Well, at trials she didn't have to do that, but no, she didn't. But at Worlds, all three prelim, semis, and finals, the 100 free was in front of the 200 breaststroke. Next year at the Olympics and at trials, it's going to be the same thing. Although she's lucky because the 100 free starts a day before it, so she only has to do it twice. She'll have the 100 free before the 100 free final will be before the 200 breaststroke semifinal, but then she'll have a fresh 200 breaststroke the next day. So I think it was more just like, I haven't done a 200 breaststroke straight up with nothing in front of it in so long. Just kind of wanted to do that. I think she feels confident in her 100 freestyle, and how to race it, how to swim it. And I think she just wanted to have a little bit more like, all right, I haven't done a 200 breaststroke without 100 free in front of it. I'm going to get that chance at trials and at the Olympics. So I want to test that out a little bit more as well.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about Gretchen Walsh. So I did some clinics in Australia just recently, and every time I did a clinic, I was talking about keeping their armpits dry as they come over. And then somehow I found this photo of Gretchen where she's up here and she's in this position, her armpits like totally out of the water, and she just looks phenomenal, like perfect technique. So just an incredible athlete, Gretchen, as well, huh?
Yeah, she is. And I think Gretchen has, one of the biggest upsides out of anybody I've seen, and still currently to this day. I think that, she had a little lull, at least in the 100 free long course, from when she won Junior Worlds, till now. And she didn't go a best time for 3 years. And she finally did this past summer. And so I think like she's just kind of scratching the surface. And I'm not saying she's going to go 50 point or 51 or something crazy this year. I'm just saying that she's got a lot of room for improvement. And part of that is also confidence. She's gaining confidence as she goes. And this past summer gave her a lot. This fall, she's been phenomenal. So, she just has a lot of potential to continue to get a lot better. And I think that's the thing about the U.S. American women right now. It's kind of a young group, right? None of them, like, you got Claire Curzan and Kate Douglas and Gretchen Walsh and Tori Husk, and they're all 21 years or younger. So they're pretty young, but they're also kind of somewhat young to the international long course stage. And I know that a lot of them were at the Olympics in 21, but that's only 2 years ago. And that was their first big senior team, trip. And so a lot of them are young to the 100 freestyle as well. And so I think like that group, along with, some of our veterans, have a really good chance to that's why I'm confident that we have a good opportunity this summer to kind of narrow that gap. But Gretchen, she's fun. She's fun to coach. She's a great personality. We've got a great relationship. She trusts what we do. She works really hard. She's, as most people have seen, at least in competition, she throws down some nasty swims in season in a practice suit. And she does that pretty much every day in practice as well. So, you very rarely get an athlete like that can do those kinds of things in, every single day. But it's also a challenge for her because she knows that she can do that every day. So she doesn't get a day off. There's like no, like, well, I'm going to kind of go easy today because, I think that's a challenge for her because the expectation, the baseline for her is so high, and to try to match that every day, day after day, is a challenge for her. And that's her kind of training challenge. So, but she's definitely a great athlete, got a ton of room for improvement. I think she's excited. I think she's more excited this year to make some changes technically with her starts, her stroke than she has, at least since I've had her in the last 2.5 years. So, we'll see, we'll see how that all pans out for her, but
yeah,
she's an
exciting.
exciting.
And I got to be honest with you, like with the times they throw down, sometimes I get them mixed up, so that, one of them swims 20 point, and then the next one swims 20 point. I'm like, hang on, was that Gretchen or was that, Kate or, so I'm like, who did what? Like, I'm like, hang on, they got 2 people swimming that fast. Like, what on earth is happening right now?
Yeah. It's been wild. That's for sure. I don't know. I don't know that a sprint duo combo like the two of them will ever come around again, right? Like I don't know that. Well, there's only been 4 women that have ever gone under 21 in the short course 50 free, 4 total, and we had 2 of them at the same time. You know, so I don't. It'll probably be a long time before that kind of combo comes along again.
So how do you manage that then? So you got these two freak women talents, you know, throwing down phenomenal times in the same event, which is just nuts. But how then do you manage that? Where you know, how often are they up against each other in practice? How do you manage like when one swims fast, the other one's watching her, and you know, all that kind of stuff?
I think it motivates them a little bit, you know, when they do it. Oftentimes they go together, so they don't necessarily know what the other one's doing. Like, you know, one doesn't go and then they see the time, then the other one goes. Sometimes they do, but I think that, like, you know, if we're doing a long course practice and they're in the same lane and, you know, we're doing hundreds and Kate comes in at 102 and Gretchen comes in at 101, 10 seconds after her, I think Kate's like, all right, I need to step up my game, and vice versa. You know, last year, which was Kate's final year of collegiate competition, you know, I said something to them. I can't remember if it was at the beginning of last season or 2 seasons ago, but I said something to them about like, I don't want to pit you guys against each other. I don't want to put you up against each other every single day and every single practice. I was like, best case scenario, we do that, because if you have the ability, the opportunity to race potentially the number 1 or number 2, whichever one you want to call yourself, athlete every single day in practice and push yourselves and race each other, it's only going to elevate both of you. But if there's ever a time where you need a break from that, let me know. And they kind of embraced it, and they were like, we know it's good for us to do it, so we're going to do it. And you know, they went at it, you know, most days. You know, I would like a lot of days. I wouldn't say most days, because Kate was doing breaststroke a lot and Gretchen doesn't, and Gretchen was doing backstroke a lot and Kate doesn't. So like it was mainly freestyle, you know, where they would do that. And so it wasn't 9 practices a week. It was maybe 3 or 4, but they really pushed each other and elevated pretty dramatically from that. So, but they kind of embraced it. And I think that in the team environment here, where it's like, you know, we want to go 1-2 in the 50 free, and we don't care who gets first, who gets second. I know they care a little bit, but at the end of the day, it's points for the team, and it's big points for the team. And so I think that they didn't let it whoever won or got second didn't let it bother them, you know. You know, and then of course last year Kate swam the IM instead of the 50 free, so it didn't matter as much anyway.
So with that said, right, and this is me again, you can tell me to shut up, but with that type of speed and that type of talent, and you've got girls going 51 in the 100 free, like couldn't and shouldn't you think that those two should be capable of going 51?
Oh yeah. Well, Kate split 51 this summer. Right. And that was after a 200 IM. So that was pretty impressive. I think that was her most impressive swim this entire summer, was anchoring. I was a 4x100 free relay. And it was right after the semifinal of the 200 IM. You know, so Kate, so yes, I agree. I think that both of them are capable and talented enough to be 51 freestylers, at least from a swing, if not from a flat start. I don't know, like certainly they're a long way away from that, right? Like Kate's 52.5, Gretchen's 53.1. You know, I certainly think that they are definitely capable, talented enough. They've got the potential to be 51 freestylers. They've just got to continue to figure it out. You know, figure out how to swim the race. You know, it's also on me to figure out how to train them to get to that. And certainly we're doing some things differently, I think, this year to help that out. But yeah, I mean, to answer your question, yes, I think they are capable of 51s. Let me say, I am not saying they're going to go 51. You know, I think they could, but that might not be this year. That might be 2 years from now. It might be 3 years from now. It might be this year. Who knows? But I think they're capable.
Do you know, with the pressure of winning another championship, you know, going for your 4 in a row, which is ludicrous. It's crazy, but it's awesome. And then the pressure of being the head coach of an Olympic team, you know, do you feel this pressure of having to spend more time and emphasis on long course swimming, or are you guys going to stay focused on short course up until the end of March? No,
we're definitely focusing on long course. And we always do. You we have every year, because at the end of the day, long course is definitely, international success has been our priority. But again, you kind of have to balance it for sure, because with a team of 60, the long course or the international success aspirations are, a minority on the team. And so you got to balance it a little bit. So we always focus on long course. Typically, once we get into like early February, we'll transition and put a little bit more into short course just as we prepare for NCAAs. But we're definitely doing more long course training this year than we have in the past. I think last year we were at most going like 2 practices per week, long course through the fall. And this year we've been doing more than double that. So we certainly are focusing a little bit more on long course and also long course racing. Like last year, we didn't go to US Open or any meets in the fall long course, and we had a pretty big group go this year. We'll take a handful to the Pro Swim Series in Knoxville in January. So we'll race a lot more long course as well throughout the season. But, I've always kind of said that like the NCAA season, I think, allows us this great reprieve from the focus of the Olympic trials or the Olympics. Not that it's not a focus, but to me, it's a positive distraction towards that, right? Because if all you're thinking about every day, all day is making the Olympics, it could wear on you. And the NCAA season, I think for us, allows us to, as a coach, I'm focused on preparing workouts and training and getting them ready to be their best long course. And they're going to get in and do the training and the practices to the best of their ability, knowing that our coaching staff is setting them up to be successful in June and July. But I don't necessarily want them thinking about that every single day, right? Like, let's think about, going best time short course. Let's think about trying to contend for a national championship at NCAAs and allow that to motivate you to work really hard, right? If you allow the team goal to motivate you to be excited and have fun and work really hard because we want to try to win another national title. And if I can get better in my short course races, then I am also, that's going to translate to long course. If I'm getting better short course, I'm going to get better long course and vice versa. So, we as a coach are putting a huge emphasis on long course and being prepared in June and July. But as an athlete, I don't want them thinking about it too much. Just when I give you this set, work really hard on it. It's long course. You know why we're doing it, but don't worry about, don't put too much pressure on yourself for that right now. Just focus on getting better as much as you can and be motivated. And whatever motivates you, allow that to motivate you.
Yeah. You guys picked up Claire Curzan this season. Do you feel like your team is better, now than they were last year when you guys won, or is it equal, or how are you feeling about the team?
Well, we won't have Claire. Claire's not eligible this year.
Okay.
So she won't race for our college team until next season.
Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that I was actually just thinking about this yesterday. I think that I had a meeting with our women's team captains and started thinking a little bit. But over the last couple of years, or 6 years since I've been here, this is my 7th season. So every year it's been, the team goal has been, let's try to be better than we were last year.
Mm-hmm.
So individually, can you be better than you were last year, right? You want to improve, you want to go best times. And how do you get to that? And then as a team, can we score more points at ACCs than we did last year? Can we score more points at NCAAs than we did last year? And take a little bit of pressure off of winning. And so that's kind of been our goal. And I actually told our female captains yesterday, I'm like, I don't think we can't necessarily have that goal anymore, right? Because, after the last 3 years that we've had, scoring more points at an ACC or an NCAA championship isn't necessarily, it's going to fluctuate, right? Like year to year, it's going to fluctuate how many points you score. So I don't want to go into this year and say, hey, let's score more points than we did last year. And if we don't, it's a failure, because it's not necessarily. So I don't know that our team is, certainly we graduated Kate, which is a huge hit to any team, but the way I look at it, again, it's another challenge, right? When you have seniors graduate and you've got points that you lose and you've got to make those points up, it's a challenge to go do that. And I think the success of a program, to me, is based on do you have those types of athletes graduating every year? And if you have somebody that, scored 60 points in NCAAs and a senior class that scored 100 points in NCAAs graduating every year, then things have gone really, really well. And, they've had a great experience. They've improved, they've done a great job. And as a coaching staff and a team, we've done a great job. So I don't know if we're a better team than last year or a worse team than last year. We're certainly a really different team than last year. But I think that everybody's excited, and I think we're in a really good place, and it's just going to be different.
Yeah. What about you, man? In terms of the success you've had as a program and a coach, do you feel people have become more open to you, or have isolated you more the more that you're winning?
What do you mean, people?
Well, I guess coaches, like we're in the coaching world, right? Like, so, there's certainly people that want to know what you're doing and how you're doing it. And then there are others who, initially want you to succeed. And then the more you have success, the more like, hang on, we want him to stop succeeding, So like,
yeah.
have you felt an isolation as you get more successful?
Not so much. I think that honestly, I've probably felt more acceptance. And from certain individuals, and I think a lot of that is just because of the opportunity to build relationships. Because, from a college perspective, I don't have the opportunity to, like when I get to a meet, I'm not necessarily all that interested in talking to a bunch of different people.
Right.
I'm focused on the team. I want to get the, NCAAs is a big meet, right? I'm not going to like roam the deck and talk to 45 coaches, and I'm kind of in with the team and out, in with the team and out. And so I don't necessarily have those opportunities at those kinds of meets to build. And even if you are going to talk to some coaches, you're going to talk to them for 5 or 10 minutes and say hi, and that's it, right? You're not really building a relationship or getting anything out of it. But since Tokyo, and Anthony and I roomed together at the Olympics, and so we built what I would consider, hopefully he would too, a great relationship. And then in Budapest in the next summer, he and I were the head coaches together and got to bond even more. But also, Carol was there, Capitani from Texas, and Greg Meehan, and a handful of other coaches. And I feel like we really bonded. We spent a ton of time together. We talked a lot. So I feel like over the last, since Tokyo, and even more so since Budapest in 22, have even more, had a good relationship. So I feel like I could call Greg Meehan up and say, hey, what are you doing? What's new? I could, Anthony and I have had those kind of talks. He's asked me about sprint training and things like that. And I've asked him about, distance training and stuff. And so I don't know that, at least from that perspective, and it's a small group, honestly, like the relationships I've built in the coaching community have been, like I really value it, and they've been pretty special. And I'm glad I had the opportunity especially to go to Budapest and be around those people, because they're great people and great coaches. And, they hopefully I treat them well, and they've been good to me too. So it's been really good.
Yeah. I brought that up because, a good friend of mine, I just spent an afternoon with him and caught up, Dean Boxall, down in Australia. And a couple of days later, he told me that the pool deck was closed. I wasn't invited in, and I understood it, like I understand that everybody wants to see what he's doing and how he's doing it. And we're in the lead up to Paris. So in terms of your pool deck and how you're running it, have you ever thought that yourself, of like, I'm just going to close off for a little while and not have any cameras come in or anything like that?
No, I'm not too worried about it. I want to talk to Dean, but he won't respond to me.
Everybody does. Yeah, I do too.
No, I mean, I think the only reason I probably would close off things would be more so just, to limit distractions than anything else.
Right.
It wouldn't be because I don't want to share or anything like that. But most of the time when we've had people come in, whether it's to observe or to do a video or film or something like that, it hasn't been a distraction. And I honestly, again, I think it's a positive distraction, like, because practice is practice every day. It's the same, right? I think having a camera crew come in for 2 days just mixes things up and, gets some excitement going, and it's a positive distraction. It's not taking away from what we're trying to do. So but from a sharing perspective, I'm not too worried about, I'm happy to share anything and everything. We just had Championship Productions come in, and I think they're going to do another, another video series. So awesome. I'm not like, it's fine, it's fine until it gets to be too big of a distraction.
Right. I also got to spend a couple of days with Cam McEvoy, and what I'm seeing there, it kind of highlights this shirt that I'm talking about here, the Sprint Revolution. But in terms of what he's doing, he's getting very specific with swimming as fast as possible. He wants to be the fastest man in water in the world, which he already is, but he wants to take that to another level again. And I think for him, talking at another level is talking about world records and swimming faster than anyone's humanly swum in the past. So it's like this guy is just locked in on speed and speed only. Do you ever see a situation where you would do that with any of your athletes, or do you see it developing in that sense where we're focused on just maybe the 50 freestyle for men and maybe even women?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. I'd love to do that, or have an opportunity to do that. I just don't have the athletes that necessarily need that right now. With men and women, the NCAA perspective, I don't need a guy or a girl that can only do a 50 free or only wants to do a 50 free, right? Like, I need you for relays. You're going to have to swim 10 events at NCAAs over 3 days. You've got to be conditioned to do that. Right. So, obviously Matt Brown said, for example, is the second fastest sprinter in ACC history behind Ryan Held in both the 50 and the 100 free. But he's got to swim 250s, 2 100s, 2 100 backstrokes, and 4 relays in 3 days. So at some level, he's got to be conditioned to make it from Wednesday night to Saturday night and be good all the way through, right? And same for the women. So at least right now, I don't have the need and necessity to do that. But if I had Cam, I would do the same thing. And Tim Lane, who's coaching him, is a good buddy of mine. I coached him at UNCW when he was swimming in college. So we go way back, and he and I have had plenty of discussions, and he sends me videos, and toss around ideas and things like that all the time. So, and I think that's awesome. I would do that too. I mean, Cam's a little older. I think, when you're, and he probably could, I'm sure he could do a great 100 too. But, if your goal is to do what he's doing, then I don't know why you would do anything that would take away from that. Right. And aerobic training is probably going to take away from that for him. But I look at like a Gretchen Walsh or a Kate Douglas, and I'm like, 5 years from now, when you're 26, 25, maybe that's the route you go. Maybe it's all about the 50 and we go and try to break a world record, because neither of them have focused solely on that. But they still swim pretty fast without being solely focused on, developing as much speed and power in a 50 as they possibly could. So I would be interested and intrigued to see how that would play out. But it'll be a while probably before at least I have an athlete like that. And a lot of that is also because, I don't have any pros, and Kate Douglas is our first real pro, but she came through our program. Right. And so I'm still kind of young when it comes to being a head coach relative to the rest of the country. And so, as our current student athletes graduate and want to continue on in their swimming careers, our pro group will grow a little bit. And I think that their training might morph a little bit into more specific type things. And for Kate Douglas, it's just not right now, because she's got to train for a 200 IM. She's got to train for a 200 breaststroke. She's got to train for a 100 freestyle. We'll dabble a little bit with the 50 free. So can't get too specific. But yeah, certainly, like, I'm down to do that when the time comes and there's a need for that.
Yeah,
I will say I'm a big fan of Cam's. I don't believe I've ever met him, but way back, when his first go around, when he was like 21.5 and 47, and he was also like 144, 145 and a 200. I think I still have it, a great underwater video of him swimming the 50 free. And I continue to this day to use that and show people, like, this is what you want to look like underwater,
Yeah. Yeah, no, listen, man, I'm with you completely, and all those things I agree with. I like the fact that you said I'd love to try it, and I'd love to go specific with it. And I think the thing that I'm really liking about what Cam is doing right now is that it seems to me that he's creating separation with the world. He won the world title by half a second. Now you've got the likes of Caleb coming back, and obviously guys are going to improve. But you even talked about how nobody in the US is really specifically training for the 50 freestyle. Now, it's not to say that there's any guarantee that that will give you ultimate success, but what I'm seeing with Cam and the knowledge that he has and the time and effort he's putting into learning and trying to swim hundreds of seconds faster, and he's getting there and he's making improvements. I honestly don't see anybody beating him. I just because nobody's training for it, and he is, and I don't see how anyone gets up on the block and legitimately says, I'm guaranteed to beat this guy. It's more of a crapshoot. Like, and I don't think the 50 free is a crapshoot. I never think that. Gretchen or Kate are going to win based on the training and the talent and the work that they've put in. And I think the same thing for Cam, right? So like when I'm looking at this 50 free next year in Paris, I don't see anybody beating him.
Yeah, I mean, was he 21-0 this past summer?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and the world record is 20.9.
Yeah.
I mean, well, right, and at least in the last year or so, I mean, what's the second fastest time in the world? 21.4, 21.5?
Yeah, 21.4 maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, he doesn't need to he doesn't need to improve much, if any, really. If he just goes to 21-0 again, there's a very good chance he wins.
Yeah.
And I know obviously breaking that 21-second barrier would be a big goal and something to celebrate for sure. I would celebrate it. Yeah, I mean, I don't see, it's obviously not hurting him to train that way. And, he's locked into it to, find, and I think you have to, right? Like you don't go 20.9 on a whim, and hey, let's just see how it goes.
Right.
You go, I mean, you don't do that going 20, you don't go 21-0 doing that. You've got to put a lot into it, a lot of details into it. And maybe it takes just focusing on the 50 to do that. Especially now without the suits that, isn't that world record from the super suit era?
Yeah. 2009.
Yeah. So, especially now without that, you've got to be locked in, and you got to have, you've got to be really focused on the technical aspect of it to get that 1 or 2 or 300s or whatever it might be. So, I don't see a detriment to what he's doing by any means. And if I were solely a 50 freestyler and that was my best chance at a medal at the Olympics, I'd be doing the same thing.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question in terms of building speed and power, because your women are just phenomenal. How do you go about building speed and power?
Well, obviously the weight room is a big component of that. Because the start and the turn, at least in short course with the turn, they're crucial. If you can come off the wall with, a little bit more force, or come off the block with a little bit more force, then you're automatically going faster. And so that's crucial. That's a big part of our development of the speed and power. And aside from that, we just do a lot of resistance training in the pool. And I think sounds like that's something that Cam has really, implemented in his program that wasn't done before.
Right.
But we're doing some sort of resistance training pretty much every day. Whether it's, upper body focused or lower body focused, or a combination, or it's power racks or parachutes or drag socks or whatever it might be. I mean, I try to do, so even when we're doing back end speed stuff, I'll try to have a strength component, involved in it. So rather than going 20/50s on a minute and a half, back end speed,
right.
Which I rarely do. We do that we do actually do that set once a year, and that's it. But rather than doing that, I most often will do something that's equivalent of that, but we'll put drag socks on, or we'll put a parachute on, and we'll go, 4 times, kick out and 15 cycles max effort with drag socks on 1.5 minutes, and then take the drag sock off and go 50 fast. That's equivalent of 5 50s all out.
Right.
But we're just focusing on 15 cycles, not your time. We're focusing on technique, power, speed, with the drag socks in a certain stroke count, where 15 strokes, is about a 50, for a butterflyer, with the kick out. So it's relative, right? We're doing the same thing, but rather than doing 5 50s all out, we're going 4 with drag socks, and then 150 where you're focused on the full 50, your stroke count, your kick counts, and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, it's just some component of resistance basically every day.
I understand building resistance and putting that in your training. How then, once you've got it established and they're using it, how then do you incorporate that into a taper phase, right? Like how much resistance are you doing in taper, and then how much gym, and then when do you stop it?
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll keep resistance in all the way through taper, but it's just a miniature amount of it, right? So I think our taper training mimics and mirrors our in-season training. It's just less. So for example, today we're going to work on the 50 freestyle, and part of it's going to be 16 efforts on the power racks on 1.5 minutes. And we've gone up to 20 efforts, and right now we're doing 16. And so so 16 on 1.5 minutes. So for the men, that's a lot. In taper, we might do 4 on 3 minutes. So we're still doing it. But it's going to be heavy, right? We're going to do a lot less of it on a lot more rest. So, I don't like to change what we're doing during taper compared to, because that's what they're used to. So we'll still do it, but it'll be less. And same thing in the weight room. We'll still do the weight room, but it'll be less. Rather than doing, 12 different exercises in the weight room, we'll bring it down to 3 or 4. And rather than doing 20 total reps of those 3 or 4, it might be 5. Might be like a warm up set, and 4 reps of 4 times 1 rep or something like that. And then when we drop weights entirely, is going to vary per person. It could be 3 weeks, it could be 3 days. Right. Just kind of depends.
Let me ask you this question. I'm a big believer in slow swimming with technique, good aerobic, slow swimming with technique. And then, you've got your different speeds. You got your top end speeds for your 50, you got your front end speeds for your 100, and then your back end speed. So training those speeds is important. But then there's kind of everything else in the middle that, is kind of things that we used in the past fairly frequently, like your threshold training, your VO2 max type stuff. Like how much of that stuff are you still using or not?
It depends. It depends on the athlete and, what we're focused on. I would say not much, generally speaking, not much of that at all. Like for our guys, we're either cruising with good technique and certain stroke counts and working, details and efficiency, or we're going 100 speed max effort. Or even, 50 speed. We got a couple guys that might do a 200 free. So they may throw a 200 speed type workout in, but, rarely are they going, it's just a big jump between cruising and going 26s long course and 50s, at 200 race pace or something like that. And then the women, maybe a little bit more, probably a little bit more of that, what, would you consider threshold, but not a lot. We'll do, the women are doing very similar things to the men, but I might throw, again, for example, today, the women are going to do a 50 freestyle workout. The men and women are both going to do the same 50 freestyle workout, except for the first 2,000 warm up ish is going to be pretty different. The women are going to go 3 300s, 3 200s, 3 100s, basically threshold. And the guys are going to go an equivalent thing, but they're going to go with 300 of drilling, they're going to go a 300 of drilling, some 25s of more drilling, and then a strong 100. And they're going to do 3 or 4 rounds of that. So their warm-ups are going to be different just because, the women, they benefit from that. But then they're going to come together and do the 16 efforts of power racks all together, the drills, the power drills and things like that. So, but again, it's like that we might do that with the women twice a week. So like literally a total of maybe 5,000 yards or meters per week of that. And again, this is just the sprinters. This isn't like, this is the Gretchen Walshes and, Kay Douglas.
Yeah.
And,
I call that kind of soft yardage in a way, right? Like it's just soft yardage. And the reason, I guess, people that don't fully understand the reason why would you separate men and women, I think is the men just hold a little bit more muscle mass. That's kind of the way I look at it.
Yeah. Yeah. That, and I've also like, I try to take the approach at some level that I don't want to dull the knife. Right. And too much of that type of stuff, the threshold, I think dulls, for men in particular, dulls the knife. Right. You have a motto here. I preach to the staff all the time, protect their speed. So there's a fine line between doing too much aerobic that's going to take away from their speed, especially for the men. And so, try not to do too much of that stuff and take away from your speed. And also, like the men in the sprint group, very few, if any of them, are going to do a 200 at all. They're doing the 50s, the 50 free, the 100 free, 100 a stroke. So the need for them to have more aerobic base and capacity is zero because they're not going to swim for more than 45 seconds. Right. The women, on the other hand, a lot of them are doing 200s, and in particular, Kate's doing a 200 IM and a 200 breaststroke. And Gretchen doesn't necessarily swim the 200, but she can. I mean, she just proved it at the midseason invite. But I take a similar approach with the women. I don't necessarily want to dull the knife, but I think that they can handle physiologically some of that threshold, and it doesn't dull their knife. In fact, sometimes it actually sharpens the knife. So something that honestly that we're dabbling in a little bit more this year, in particular for somebody like Gretchen, where like she don't have a problem getting out fast in 100 free. Her and I don't want to call it a problem because she still went 53.1, but she goes out just as fast as anybody in the world. I think she was out in 25.1 this past summer. So, if we can get her back in, 27.2 or 3, then we're looking at a 52.3, 52.4, which is very different.
Yeah. Tell me this, kind of heading towards the end of this now. I've had you for an hour. I appreciate your time, mate. What's the influence on Ken Ono? Like what's the story there, and how much influence does he have on the program?
Well, influence, I think influence and impact are two different things, right? Influence, zero. Impact, definitely there's an impact. He just has the ability with the data and the tools that he's developed to give us information that we would not have otherwise, and that you can't see with the naked eye. But I think the best thing about him is he's really good at translating the information and the data, because if he just handed me a report with a bunch of data, I would have no idea what it is or what it means or what it's telling me. He's knows swimming well enough to be able to say, here's the data, this is what it means, and this is what it's showing. And then obviously we have a great underwater camera system that will link it up to the specific point in time that he's talking about. So not only can the data shows it, but we've got a video or a still picture that confirms it.
When you say data, what kind of data are you talking about?
He has a sensor that he connects to the athletes, and it's like on a belt. So the sensor sits at the small of their back, and they do a quick test. They might do like 250s all out on 2 minutes or something like that. And it collects, I only know this because of him, like 512 data points every second. So it's everything from how much force you're pushing off the wall with, how much, if you're doing a short course 50 and you flip and push off the wall, like how much force are you putting into the wall versus how much force are you putting out, and how much force do you lose between the two? How much, if you do 8 dolphin kicks, how much force is each dolphin kick generating? Are you losing force as you go? Is your kick, your amplitude too big? Is it too small? And then obviously, different things with the stroke. We've done tests where, hey, do this 25 all out and breathe only to the right, and do this one and breathe only to the left. Let's see which side is more beneficial, more efficient for you. Different things like that. Something that he we looked at with Kate a couple years ago, and her breaststroke was, something that he found. And it was that when she would finish her kick, if anybody knows Kate Douglas, her breaststroke is so long and she rides her line so well, but she was taking forever to get her feet. When she finished her kick, her feet would go down and it would take forever for them to kind of come back up and get in a good line. So she was creating drag, so we worked a lot on finishing her kick and getting into that line as quick as possible. And a lot of times the data that he gives us, only confirms what we were thinking, which is great because, all right, hey, I think this, I need to focus on this. Can you test it so you can confirm it? And it gives us confirmation that is something we want to look at. And we're not complete idiots as coaches. And then other times it's, hey, he's giving us things that we didn't know. Before Tokyo, before Olympic trials in 21, he was doing a lot of work with Paige Madden, and it wasn't even a technical thing. It was, she was going to focus on the 200 free because we get 6 spots and the chances of making the Olympic team are greater there than in other races. She wasn't even going to race the 400 free. And then it was like, all right, because the 400 free was the day before the 200 free at trials. And so she was like, all right, I'll race the 400 free just in prelims to get into the meet. But if I happen to make it back, I'm going to scratch it. And Ono was like, all along was like, it wasn't even a technical thing. It was more like watching her stroke and being like, you need to swim the 400 free. You can go 403. And she made the final and ended up swimming in the final and ended up making the team. She got second to Katie Ledecky at trials and then makes the Olympic final and goes 403. So he definitely has an impact. It's great to have, I don't know that anybody else in the country has something like him, at least readily available to do anything we want to do anytime. He's coming over tomorrow afternoon. We're going to run some tests and do some interesting things. So it's definitely a benefit.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I love it. You said you don't have a pro team. You must have a lot of people, beating down your door to get in. Is there a specific reason why you don't have a pro team? Do you say no to a lot of people?
No. I don't know. I think I've gotten a reputation of not wanting pros. I don't know. I'm not opposed to having pros. I think that, again, like our college team is our pro team, right? We have, 8 or 10 U.S. national team members on our college team. We have Amy Canny, who's, an Olympian from South Africa. So like I have enough to help, and I think that when a pro comes from the outside, I think it takes time for them they just have different ideas of what they need to be doing. Right. And, it's sometimes a challenge, with somebody like Kate Douglas, who's came through our program for 4 years. She knows what we do. She knows it works. She's bought into it. She's confident in it. And she's not necessarily going to question what we're doing.
Yeah.
So, but I just don't, if I have a pro, it takes away from the college team. It's going to take, having Kate here takes away from the college team. I think about Kate when I write a workout, and that means I'm not thinking about the college team when so any single minute I think about a pro, I'm not thinking about the college team, which like University of Virginia pays me. So that's my job. So any pro is, or any time I spend, focusing on that takes away from the college team. And so at the end of the day, I don't want to get to the point where my college team ever suffers because I've got 15 pros that I'm focused on. Not to mention, I have a beautiful wife and 2 children, and I don't want focusing on because I'm never going to allow, if I had pros or a lot of them, I wouldn't allow the time I put into them to take away from the college team. So, but it's going to take away from somewhere, which probably means it's going to take away from my home life and my family life.
Yeah.
So I don't want to do that. If I spend 5 more minutes in the office writing a bunch of workouts for pros, that's 5 minutes I won't be at home with my family. So, and we're already, as a coach, and everybody knows this, as a coach, you're already away a lot. And, So like, I'm not opposed to it by any means. I'm just not like out there recruiting them, and I'm not out there like, hunting them and doing that. I am happy with where we're at. Our college team's kicking ass. I'm going to put everything I can into them every day. And certainly, somebody like Kate Douglas, who came through our program and did a lot for our program and invested in our program, having her stick around is, for me, like, I want to continue to help her. She's helped me. She's helped our team. I'm going to continue to help her as long as she wants it. And having one person or even 5 people isn't necessarily, I don't know that will take that much away from the college team, but it's just kind of how it's worked out.
Yeah. And well, listen, man, for your sanity, keep it that way. You're on the right path. Trust me on that.
Yeah.
All right. I almost forgot about this question. Last question. I actually think I asked you this in the last podcast a couple of years ago that we did together, because it came up then. Eddie had announced that he was retiring, and I asked you back then, you were close to Eddie at that time, and I said, is there any thought of going to Texas? Guess what? Eddie's retiring again. We're doing a podcast again.
Maybe.
Any thought of taking over from Eddie Reese?
No, I think that professionally, my goals ever since 2016 and 2015 with Ryan Held making the Olympic team, like, that was a great experience. And with NC State and having, relays, winning NCAAs and things like that, like, for me, what I want to get out of this profession is being surrounded by athletes and coaches and administration that value, success and, success on the NCAA level, and being around athletes in a team that can contend for national championships, and being around athletes that can contend for Olympic spots. And, so like, we're doing that here. I don't necessarily need to go anywhere else to go do that. And then from a personal level, like, Charlottesville is amazing. I love it here. I'm a small town guy. I grew up in a small town. Not that Charlottesville's super small, but it is relative to a lot of other places. My family loves it here. My kids love it here. So I don't feel like, I don't feel the need to do that. And now our men are taking a massive step forward as well. So, I'm even more sort of excited for the future here now than ever, because of the fact that, I think in the next 5 years, we're going to have the ability to be, on comparable levels for both men and women. And that's going to be tons of fun. Yeah.
Good stuff, man. Well, listen, I appreciate your time. I see some people active in the house back there. So get back with your family, man. I appreciate the hour that you spent with us, mate.
Yeah, man. My pleasure, dude. It's always good to talk to you.
Yeah. Listen, good luck over the next 10 months, man. A lot on your plate, but we're all rooting for you. Okay.
Thanks, Brett.
Cheers, mate. Bye.